Okay, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something that, a lot of us have probably seen. Maybe you're even looking at one right now in your own house. It's that one single cracked floor tile. It seems like such a tiny thing, right? But it's actually an early warning sign, a little clue about a much bigger story that's happening just under your feet.
Yeah, that tiny little crack in your tile, what's it really trying to tell you? I mean, you've got this little hairline fracture on the kitchen floor, maybe in the bathroom. It is so easy to just ignore it, right? But here's the thing. That crack, it's a message. It's a symptom that something else is going on underneath. So the real question is, are you listening to what it has to say? You know that feeling I'm talking about? You step on just the right spot and you hear this faint click. Or maybe you're walking barefoot and you feel that one edge of a tile is just slightly raised. It's these little things that give you that nagging, worrying feeling in the back of your mind that, something's not quite right here. So let's dig into what's really happening underneath. Because, spoiler alert, that feeling you have is probably right. Here's the most important thing to get. Tiles are tough. They are incredibly durable. They don't just crack for no reason. The problem is almost never the tile itself. It's what's going on in the hidden layers just below the surface. So who are these hidden culprits? Well, it usually boils down to one of four main suspects. First up, you've got subfloor movement. If you have a wood subfloor, it naturally expands and contracts with humidity. Then there's just plain old improper installation. Think uneven glue and little air pockets that create weak spots. Moisture is another huge one. Water can seep in and just destroy the tile's bond. And finally, sometimes it really is just a heavy impact. Someone drops something heavy and that creates a stress fracture. Let's zoom in on the most common cause, what I like to call the subfloor stress test. Think about it like this. Throughout the year, as the seasons and humidity change, the wood subfloor under your tile is constantly swelling and shrinking. Just a little bit, but it's always moving. The problem is the tile on top is completely rigid. It can't bend, it can't flex with that movement. So all that pressure starts to build up, and it has to go somewhere. It finds the weakest point in the tile, and bam, that's when you see that crack, often starting right at a corner. This really is a tale of two tiles, and it all comes down to support. A properly supported tile has this nice, even layer of adhesive. It's got a full bond to the subfloor, it's stable, it's silent, it's built to last. But then you have the improperly supported tile. It's got air pockets underneath, the bond to the subfloor is weak or maybe even broken. This is the tile that goes click when you step on it. This is the tile that's going to crack at the first sign of trouble. Honestly, it was pretty much set up to fail from day one. Okay, so now we get to the danger of just ignoring it. I know what you're thinking. It's just one tile. What's the big deal? Well, this is where a really small crack can turn into some really big problems. It always starts with just one single tile. It looks so harmless, right? Just a tiny flaw. But you have to think of that one crack as an open door. And what do you think walks right through that open door? Water. Even just a tiny bit of moisture from mopping the floor or a little spill, it seeps right in. And that leads to mold growth, because mold loves those dark, damp spots. Then the moisture makes the wood subfloor start to swell up, which puts pressure on all the tiles around it. Before you know it, you could be looking at actual structural damage. And it all started with that one little crack. I love this quote. A loose tile is like a warning light on a dashboard. It's a perfect way to think about it, right? I mean, you wouldn't just stick a piece of black tape over the check engine light in your car and pretend everything's fine. A loose or cracked tile is literally the same thing. It's your floor's way of telling you, hey, the system underneath has lost its grip. All right, so that brings us to fixing it, and fixing it the right way. Because this is so important. There's a huge difference between a quick patch and a real solution. That quick fix might look okay for a little while, but it's not actually solving the real problem. Let's just compare the two ways you can fix a crack. On one side, you've got the DIY patch. This is usually just gluing it or squeezing some caulk in there. Sure, it hides the problem for a bit, but the damage is still happening underneath, and trust me, it will fail over time. On the other hand, you have a professional repair. This always starts with figuring out the root cause first. It solves the underlying issue, maybe even reinforces the subfloor if that's what's needed, and it makes sure you get a lasting, seamless finish. So what is it that a professional is looking for? Well, you can think of it like they have X-ray vision for your floor.
They're going to be tapping on tiles, listening for those hollow spots that tell them there are air pockets. They'll check the grout lines for any tiny openings where moisture could get in. They'll actually assess the subfloor to see if it's moving or firm. And they can tell the difference between a crack from a dropped pot and a crack from a structural issue. It's that level of investigation that leads to a fix that actually lasts.
But you know, the best repair is always the one you don't have to do in the first place. So let's talk about protecting your floors. What are some simple steps you can take for future prevention?
It really comes down to some proactive floor care. Number 1, keep your grout sealed. That's your main defense against moisture getting in. In places like bathrooms and kitchens, try to control the humidity. Use an exhaust fan. It really helps keep the subfloor stable. Also, just use mats in those high-impact areas, like right by the sink. And every once in a while, just give your tiles a little tap, tap, tap. If you hear that hollow sound, you've just caught a problem before it gets serious.
So, in the end, it all comes back to one simple idea. Your floors are talking. That faint click, that tiny crack, that slightly raised edge, it's all language. It's them trying to tell you what's really going on just beneath the surface. So the only question is, are you listening?